The Beatitudes are some of the most powerful and lasting words ever spoken. For 2 millennia, they've inspired poets, prophets, mystics, and revolutionaries. But what do they really mean? How have people throughout history understood these paradoxical blessings? And what might they say to us today? Join Sycamore Creek for an 8-week series exploring how the Beatitudes have been interpreted and lived across the centuries. Ancient words, timeless hope, and a world in need of blessing.
We are continuing in a series today called Paradoxical Blessings. It's a series in the Sermon on the Mount about the Beatitudes. The Sermon on the Mount is Jesus' most famous teaching in the Gospel of Matthew. Matthew was one of his closest followers, and he wrote a story of Jesus' life. And this sermon is 3 chapters long, and Jesus starts it off with a bunch of paradoxes. He puts things together that don't go together. They're a paradox. Like, blessed are the poor, blessed are the hungry, blessed are the persecuted. Like, these are not usually things you think of as blessing or being blessed. And Jesus gives us those paradoxes. The whole thing is based on a book by a professor named Rebecca Eklund called The Beatitudes Through the Ages. It's a great book. It explores like how these different paradoxes have been interpreted throughout the centuries by different Christians. And I don't know about you, but when I read the history of Christian interpretation, what it does is it tells me there's more answers to the questions I'm asking than I have always thought. In fact, sometimes Christians disagree, and that makes me feel better about disagreeing with, well, myself or other preachers or teachers that I hear. Now, today, I'm not actually going to be preaching. We have a special guest preacher this morning. I want to invite Son Risa to come on up. Give a big hand for Son Risa. Son Risa is the pastor at MSU, Michigan State University. You all know that little place over there. She's the campus pastor for MSU, LCC, for United Methodist in the area. So she is regularly with college students, but you never preached in a place like this before. So
I know.
We're gonna be good to her, okay? Y'all be good to her. I want her to come back and preach again sometime. But join me again in thanking God this morning for Son Risa.
Thank you. A little disclaimer about me. I am adorable, but I have a very soft voice. So I'm going to do my best to project. If I start getting soft, please wave me down, do something, because I don't want to hear that echoey reverb that hurts my ears that always happens when they turn me up because I'm getting too soft. Do we make this agreement together? Thank you. So it happened. It happened again. It happened just this morning. A conversation turned tense. A sharp comment landed right in my chest. And I felt my pulse in my ears. I felt my face starting to heat up. I felt tightness in my chest. And my hands automatically did that fidget thing with too much energy. And I was ready with the comeback. I had it lined up in my brain. It would have been so easy. It would have been so quick. It would have been perfect. And it was. It felt really good just to let it fly out. And part of me still feels like I'm justified in my response. And I wish I could tell you that this was unusual for me, but it's not. Anger and I are old acquaintances, and I've tried to find justification for it, for why anger and I are so close. I've looked at the old arguments, nature versus nurture, I've taken countless personality tests like the Enneagram, where I keep landing on this number 8, which is known as the protector, but really we're just big bulldozing idiots that are doing whatever we want because it's what we feel is right. Maybe it's my sign, the day I was born. I'm a Capricorn. We're supposed to be bosses. Maybe it's because I'm a self-identifying Jersey girl, and in New Jersey, it's our culture. We're just a bit more direct than y'all out here in the Midwest. But whatever it is, it feels like anger is just always with me. It's never too far behind me. Sometimes I convince myself that it's righteous. But here's the truth. That same fiery anger that warms, that fiery anger that can offer protection, it can also burn a bridge in seconds. So when Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth," I feel called out. If meekness is strength under control, then y'all, I've got serious work to do. And maybe someone else here does too. Maybe it's you. And let's be honest, we've all been there, right? That flash of defensiveness when someone talks over you, that heat in your stomach when a comment feels like a vicious attack, that urge to make your voice the last one in the room. Even the people we admire the most have wrestled with this and continue to wrestle with it. This summer, I was in my car a lot, doing a traveling preaching tour. I was visiting a new church week after week. So I clocked a lot of hours listening to audiobooks, and I re-listened to a lot of my favorites. One book that I can remember where I was when I was driving was Little Women. Little Women follows the lives of the March family. It's 4 sisters and their mother, and they're navigating life's challenges and poverty as the father is off to war. Each sister in this beautiful book is unique, uniquely beautiful and incredibly flawed. And the story highlights kindness, gratitude, self-sacrifice, all while discovering one's most authentic self. It's beautiful. But in one truly tragic fight between the 2 sisters, Jo and Amy, we're provided a glimmer of an instance of meekness. In the story, Jo, our spirited protagonist, and she's the second eldest sister, she has her heart gutted by her younger sister, Amy. Amy wanted to attend an outing with her 2 older sisters. She was told no, it couldn't happen, and she was not told in a very kind manner. So sisters being as sisters are, she retaliates. Amy tells Jo, "You're going to regret this." And in her actions, she burns Jo's manuscript, something that Jo takes such pride in, something she's been working on diligently, and she is distraught. She's heartbroken, she's enraged, and Marmee, her mother, has a very kind moment with her. Now, Marmee's personality is pretty much saintly. She's a giver, she's a caretaker, she's holding this family together. And in this tender moment between her and her daughter, she tells her, begs her, "Don't be angry, let go of your anger." And she says to her daughter in this admission, "I've been angry almost every day of my life." I think I had to pull the car over when I reheard this again. Marmee My Marmee, angry every day, not just in her youth? She says that it's been her lifelong work to master her temper so it doesn't master her. Marmee whose anger and meekness inspires not just myself, but she's been the inspiration for many feminist authors, like the poet, feminist author and educator Daniel Coffin. In her work of poems titled What Would Have Happened If Adam Ate the Apple, she has this poem that I would love to read to you. The poem is titled, I'm angry nearly every day of my life. I'm nearly every day of my life, and for too long, I tempered this rage. Built a dam forged of productivity and disordered working, serving and pleasing, all in an attempt to subdue my fury. Be grateful, be humble, be sweet. I self-lobotomized as a hobby. After each procedure, I hoped, maybe this time I'll stay good. But I remain a woman in this world, my body one of millions of battlefields where war has raged for generations. Silence is no longer an option. Not when women are forced to bear children, not when girls are taught to starve themselves to stay small, not when kindergartners practice active shooter drills, not while our world remains ensnarled at the grip of violent, power-hungry men. I want to be angry like Marmee is angry. I want to feel it, but not give in to it as a master. The problem is, the world does not reward that type of behavior. Our culture loves a clapback, right? They love a hot take. They love the domination of the room. We cheer on the ones who destroy their opponents, the ones who can talk over everyone else. And we equate volume with victory. We equate dominance with dignity. And here's the tension. That culture, it isn't just out there. It's in us. It shows up when we get defensive in a family argument. It shows up when someone posts something ignorant online, and we feel that irresistible tug to fire off a perfect response. It shows up when we walk into a work meeting already rehearsing the counterparts instead of actually listening and being present. We've been taught that if we don't push harder, we're going to get left behind. But Jesus says the opposite. And that's what makes this beatitude so disruptive. So, here's an opportunity for y'all to chat. My first chat question is, where do you see examples of the struggle between rightful anger and self-control? Find yourselves a partner. So, when Jesus said, "Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth," Jesus wasn't offering a hallmark sentiment. He wasn't offering a feel-good message. Jesus was detonating a cultural grenade in that statement. In the Roman Empire, meek people, they didn't inherit anything. Land and power went to the willing, those willing to dominate. They were dominating by force, by politics, and by wealth. The meek, they were invisible. And yet Jesus looks out at the powerless, looks at the overlooked, and the people crushed under Rome's boot. And he said, you people under those boots, you will inherit the earth. not by fighting with fire, not by mimicking Rome's power plays, but by trusting God's ways. Rebecca Eklund, professor and theologian, in her book, Beatitudes Through the Ages, she puts it this way: meekness is a form of resistance, not grasping for control, but by refusing to play the rules of domination. If you think about it, God is the ultimate model of meekness. In Philippians 2, Paul says, "The one with all authority emptied himself, taking the form of a servant and humbling himself to death on a cross." That's not weakness. That's strength so secure that it doesn't have to cling on to anything. Psalm 37:11 says, "The meek shall inherit the earth and delight in abundant peace." The word delight here, that's what's important. It's not just enduring this peace, it's delighting in it. Imagine that deep exhale when you step into a quiet space after being very loud and overstimulated. Maybe on a crowded street or a place like Lansing Shuffle. Imagine that moment after the storm when the air smells fresh and smells clean. That's the inheritance God is talking about. Not domination, but rest. Meekness isn't stepping aside. It's stepping into God's abundance with open hands instead of clenched fists. It's knowing God's justice will have the last word. That way, you don't have to. And here's what I want you to do. So, I don't remember if Tom shared, but I'm a therapist. I like to give people skills, give them a challenge every once in a while. So here's our invitation with us. We need to know that meekness isn't just going to fall in our laps. This is a practice we have to work on time and time again. And it starts in small ways, ordinary ways. Moments when we'd rather not practice it. That's when we got to work on it. Here's our invitation. Notice the heat. The next time your heart races, next time your voice starts to get a bit sharp, next time you feel a tenseness in your shoulders or that gross feeling in your stomach, just notice it. That's meekness getting ready, an opportunity for us. Thank you. Ask yourself a deeper question. Once we notice those feelings, ask yourself, okay, so what's driving this? Is it love for what's right? Or is it fear of losing control? Is it fear I'm not going to win this fight? Or is it something greater? Finally, after we're doing this work of noticing, deciphering, choose the long win over the short win. The short win is that cutting word, that perfect action or tone, that perfect comeback. That's victory in the moment, right? But the long win is preserving dignity, yours and theirs. This isn't about becoming constantly passive. It's about deciding in that moment who you want to be and what kind of kingdom you want to build. Because every time you pause, every time you speak with grace, when you could have spoken with absolute venom, you are laying another stone in the kind of world that Jesus says to be. I have another chat question for you all. When you picture yourself choosing the long win over the short win, what word or hope do you use or hope you would use? Say it again. When you picture yourself choosing the long win over the short win, what's one word you hope people would say about you, used to describe you? Think about our long wins and short wins with your buddies. I'm curious, what words did we come up with? Just shout out a word for me. Patience? I heard patience. What other words did we come up with? Strong? I heard strong. I heard patience. Thoughtful? Controlled? Ooh. Steadfast. Ooh. Wait. Compassionate? Ooh. You guys got some good words. I like that. I don't know what word I would pick. I thought about this question and I wrote the question, but I didn't think about it. Don't put me on the spot. So now imagine those great words that we hope people would use for us. Imagine that it wasn't just you, but it was all of us. Picture walking into a tense meeting or a heated community discussion, and instead of the tensions rising, the temperature actually drops. Not because people are avoiding hard truths, but because they know how to handle them differently. Picture disagreements that are ending not in fractured friendships, but in shared meals. Picture a church whose presence feels cool and calm and inviting, rather than a really uncomfortable and tense and those kind of harsh places maybe we've been in once in a while. A church where people just breathe easier because they're with their people, their community. This isn't just a theory. In 2019, during tense protests in Hong Kong, a small group of Christians gathered together at the edges, and they weren't there to shout slogans or to claim sides, but they were there to sing hymns softly. They sang Hallelujah to the Lord, and this became an unexpected anthem. Protesters and police officers both stopped to listen. Some moments of hard edges became confrontational, and they softened. And there was even times where there was complete stillness. That is an example of meekness in public. It's strong enough to stand, but it's gentle enough for an invitation of peace. But what about closer to home? Examples of meekness can come when a congregation chooses to speak up for the marginalized, but doing so without villainizing those who disagree. It's when faith community advocates for justice, but doesn't lose tenderness. It's when we inherit the earth and we care for it, with creation, our neighbor, even our enemies. We're treating them as if they actually belong to God. And at MSU Wesley, we take pride on being a space that is open, accepting, and affirming of all college-aged folks. We are only one of 5 progressive campus ministries at MSU. Only 5 that are open with their stance, open with being welcoming really to everybody. And our emphasis is spiritual and mental health. But being intentionally invitational means that we're not all going to agree. These students are entering into our spaces with varied pasts, experiences, and hopes for what is going to happen. Our current intern, Izzy, realistically, she should be up here preaching to you all right now because she is the embodiment of meekness. When my fiery side comes out, and y'all, comes out a lot, she reminds me that there's alternative points of view. And she's only in her 20s. Rebecca Uckland says Jesus' promise isn't just for individuals. It's for a whole new reality, a kingdom where power is safe because it's in the hands of those who refuse to abuse it. Inheriting the earth means good stewards of justice, means that we are inclusive, that we have a care for creation. It's a place where everyone can flourish. If we lived that way together, we'd be living proof that God's power doesn't crush. It actually heals. And people would come not because we shouted the loudest, but because we loved the deepest. The world says if you don't fight back harder, you'll lose. Jesus says if you keep fighting back harder, you've already lost. Meekness is not weakness. It is actually the fiercest kind of courage there is. It's the kind of courage that can hold a flame without burning the world down. So the next time my pulse races and that comeback is ready to fly, like it did this morning, maybe, just maybe, I'll remember this moment. I will remember this room. I will remember this calling. And maybe, just maybe, you will too. Because the kingdom of God, that's the kind of person and community that inherits the earth. I have one final chat question, and as you all are answering, I'd also invite the band to come up. So my final chat question for you is, what's one way you or your community could practice this kind of trust-filled, countercultural meekness this month? Well, actually, maybe that's August, September, in September.